The topic for today is on being a perpetual student or a constant student. I see this thing thrown around a fair amount. Like, oh yeah, hashtag always learning. Oh, I always want to be a student. Oh, I'm always taking classes. But I want to, I'm not going to challenge you. I just want to explain my way of thinking, kind of how I try to do things. So it's easy to think that the way I do things now is the best, the most effective, gives the best results. There's not a better way. However, if I kind of stick with that thought process, I'll easily get left behind at some point. Maybe that happens next year. Maybe that happens 5 years from now. Maybe that's 10 years from now. But if you don't evolve, try to get better, think of new ideas, new drills, you will get left behind. So kind of the thing I see I'll be real, in the instructor space is guys tend to prefer their own echo chambers. So for example, let's say I want to take classes because I'm a forever student, but I decide to take them from Ben Steger, Wanshi Kim, and Nick Young. Well, if you're watching this channel, you probably kind of understand the irony of that, because those guys and I all teach more or less the same material. Granted, the drill order might be a little bit different, maybe little nuances, maybe there's a little bit, things here and there, but more or less, it's kind of the same style of drill progression, still style of drills, very process focused, not outcome focused shooting. So kind of feel at home if I went and took a class from one of those guys. I'm not going to feel like I'm a new student or the first day at school where I don't know anyone. Instead, I'll pretty much know all the drills. I'm amongst friends. It's pretty easy to just hang out. So I wouldn't really call that being much of a student. Instead, I'm interested. Well, I'll tell you a brief story. So recently we did the PSTG Summit, and a little behind the scenes there. The instructors that come to the summit are mostly people that I'm friends with or know. And the idea is, or kind of a requirement is, it's the way the instructors work at that event is everyone gets along pretty well with everyone. There's going to be little, things where somebody's a little bit irritated with somebody, or somebody did this or that or whatever. I'm not saying it's all has to be one big happy family, but they're all kind of, friends or professional courtesy, even if they think each other's crazy for something they teach. Oftentimes, it'll be 11 o'clock at night. They'll be outside, talking like, hey, why do you do this? Why do you do that? I think you're crazy. Why is that? Oh, I didn't really realize that. How about this? And a lot of back and forth and learning. So I think that stuff's really good. My friend Nick Young has a podcast, the Train Smart podcast. It was a very good name he came up with. Very creative. And on his podcast, Tom Castro was on it, which was recently at the summit. Well, people love trying to do gotcha with Tom, at least in kind of my circle of training. So be like, hey, ask Tom why he crossed his feet there. Oh, did you know he did this? Well, what about that? Oh, the crash this, or, just kind of like gotcha stuff. I don't think people don't mean it to be malicious, but it's just like, Tom said he never crossed his feet, but he crossed his feet there. It's like, well, Tom's actually saying while you're shooting, not just walking in general, which whether I think it's right or wrong, I don't care. He has conviction, and he's willing to articulate it and talk about why he feels the way he does, or his thought process in training and shooting. So on Nick's podcast, they were talking about the summit, and Tom said, which I could see this happening, a lot of people asked him why he was there, or why I asked him to be there, because his thoughts on shooting, some of which are way different from mine. Tom's reply, which I agree with, was spot on. He said the reason he is there is because he has a lot of different views of shooting as me and kind of my friends, which is true. I like the fact that Tom doesn't just kind of regurgitate my own material back to me, or our material, like the PSTG stuff. Instead, it's very interesting just to see what he has to say, what he thinks. Tell me about the crossing your feet thing. What's the story? Give me the real story. Give me the deets. Kind of go through, okay, what about this? And sometimes we end up saying the same thing, but just articulating it way differently. Or sometimes he does have a different concept or uses different words, which is fine. We all get to the same place. So I'm interested in just having those conversations. Along the same lines, as long as it can be stomached, about any of what's out long form, like class format, or kind of like a drill explanation and demo on YouTube, I watch about all those. And sometimes they get forwarded to me by my friends. Like, for example, I talk about Nick Young a lot. Nick and I are friends. Nick, he's a nerd also, so he'll send me people's drills or some like class snippet or whatever. Like, hey, did you see this? What about this? What do you think about this? Oh, this shot timer company has this shooter on. Kind of interesting. You should watch it. And we talk about it. That kind of stuff. Because I'm just interested. And I'm most interested in stuff that's kind of outside of my immediate ecosystem or something I already know what they're going to say before they say it. So, also, listen to About Everybody's podcasts, and I like listening to podcasts from people that have way different ideas than me. Books, like drill books, even I think it's going to be totally... There's been a couple of drill books I bought that I thought this is probably not going to be worth the time or money, but I buy them anyway because I'm just curious what they have to say. And there's a couple of times, like one of them in particular, was really... I didn't necessarily love the material, but I really liked the way it was all formatted and put together and displayed. It was cool to look through. So just more kind of perspective, ideas, thoughts, like how do other people do stuff? What could I be doing differently? And it's good because it challenges me to kind of think differently the way I think now, or always trying to do things better. A good way to get passed up is just not being open to new ideas, critiques, thinking I know everything, and kind of not growing. So this year I also took a few different classes. I took part of a Tom Castro class, The Summit. It was only 4 hours, but it was interesting. Kind of his highlights, so to speak. But I want to take a full 2-day Tom Castro class at some point. I think that will work out. There's a couple spots, one of which is only a few hours for me, that I think he goes to every year. So I'm going to try to jump in. Another one, I took a Kyle DeFore class this year, his pistol class. I want to take his carbine class next year. Some of which, so Kyle did doubles. Okay, yeah, I'm very aware with the drill, but he had a kind of a different justification for the drill and explaining it, so that was cool. And going there, at least beginning of day one, I don't know if anybody in the class like knew who I am, which is I'm very good with. Ben and I were there, and we were just regular schmoes. Just, tell me where do I bring my stuff? Okay, where's the line? I'll take target number 4. He's got target number 5. Okay, cool. And just show up as regular students, just shooting, which was really fun. So we knew the doubles, but after that, there was a bunch of drills that I hadn't done before. I'd never done B8 targets before. He had some striking stuff with those tie pads. Whole new world to me. A little bit of knife work. Not so much like getting in a knife fight, but just some like stabs or jabs or cuts, those kind of things. I was like, oh, okay, way different, interesting, way different experience. Gave me an appreciation for edge blades and kind of how all that works, and how effective they are and what's required to be good with them. So, oh, cool, very interesting. So I'd want to take his carbine class again, I think, next year. Bruiser Industries, Joe Dawson, I'm interested in his stuff also. I've done quite a bit of, I won't even say scoped or precision. I've shot a scoped rifle or carbine a fair amount off a bench, some improvised rests, but nothing competitively, nothing professionally taught, just me and a cell phone or just kind of figuring it out. So I think taking a formal education would be interesting too. Again, something that's not, I can't just show up to his class and already know what he's going to be asking of me. I've watched several of his videos, quite a few of his videos. He's got some long form stuff online to kind of know roughly what I'll be getting myself into, which I appreciate when other trainers put those kind of things out, because it gives you a little bit of an insight to what to expect. For example, if you come to a Ben and Joel class, Ben is likely going to make jokes at my expense, and I'm definitely going to make some jokes at his expense. Sometimes Ben's jokes are a little bit, just Ben being Ben. So what you see is what you get. And so it's nice because when people show up to class, they're not surprised by such things because we put enough material out online. It's not a surprise when stuff like that happens. So tying it back, watching Bruiser Industries, a lot of those class clips where it's 10 or 15 or 20 minutes just talking through, it's like, okay, cool. I kind of have a rough idea of what to expect. I've got, I think, all the equipment that's needed. So something like that would be fun just to go take the class as a student. I took a Mason Lane class last year. There are a couple of different classes of his, but maybe last year, the year before. That was fun as a student just to see what he had to say. He had some different drills and perspectives that I hadn't thought of before, so that's super fun. But anyway, that's my point, is just kind of being a perpetual student is good. So for like the flip side then, if you're somebody listening to this that doesn't teach, then it's like, well, do you just stick with one instructor and only take classes from them? Take classes from different instructors? I've heard both. I've heard of instructors telling students, like, you should stick with me and, don't go over and do it that person. They're going to teach you bad habits or something. I've never told anyone, or I wouldn't tell someone not to be, like, looking for other instructors or looking aggressively for new information. I think that's a good idea. And with the power of YouTube, you can kind of look and see if that's somebody that you think would have anything to give you, or if it's something that probably, wouldn't be worth your time or you wouldn't be interested in. So anyway, I wouldn't tell people to take or not to take a class, but that's just kind of my perspective for how I try to keep getting better and think about new ideas, because otherwise it's pretty easy just to think I kind of know everything and I'll just keep doing the thing I know and stay in the circles I stay in where I'm very comfortable and I know the drills and what's going to be expected. And it's not the best environment to grow in. So instead, plan on taking more classes next year from new people that I haven't taken a class from before, and just kind of seeing where I can learn and grow and all that kind of stuff. So if you have any specific ideas for classes you'd want me to take, feel free to drop it below in the comments. I can't promise I'll make them all because my schedule is already filling in just for me teaching classes next year, but I would like to pick a few classes out to take as a student and then just block off my calendar to make sure I can attend them. So I appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. Let me know what you think about this video, and I hope you have a good day.